we've been really inundated by calls the last couple of hours, calls coming from various places, including Moscow. And this is with regard to somewhat incredible reports which have surfaced from various sources, some Arab sources, internet sources from the Arab world, about my meetings with the Prime Minister, Foreign Minister of Qatar here last week. And according to those reports, I mean, they give some rather graphic details of the rude things I said to the Prime Minister of Qatar and threats I made, etc., etc. You know, I've been dealing with the media for over a quarter of a century, and I've not seen anything like that. I mean, there is disinformation, there is lie, there is blatant lie. One has to come up with some different, stronger description in order to characterize this kind of a thing. Just very briefly, I had 3 meetings with the Prime Minister of Qatar here in New York. One meeting was in the presence of the Secretary General of League of Arab States, and the room was full with people. I think it was the Prime Minister of Qatar's delegation. Another meeting was in the presence of his delegation and 4 other permanent representatives of China, India, Pakistan, and South Africa. And the final meeting before his departure in the presence, and also the entire delegation, and the final meeting in the presence of Ambassador of China and again the delegation of the Prime Minister of Qatar. You understand very well that if you want to make threats and discuss armed shipments, whatever, you don't talk in the presence of 20 people, including your colleagues from the Security Council. So it's just dishonest and dirty and provocative, of course. Also, I should tell you that our discussions were centered exclusively on the draft resolution we were working on and focused on the situation in Syria. And also, you know, I met the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, first in 2006 during the war in Lebanon when he was here in New York. And since that time, we established, I think, a very friendly way of communicating with each other. You know, as you probably know, some of you who have seen me here for years, I'm trying to be polite even when provoked. So to use threats is really not my style, and there was nothing, no even hint of any threats, intimidation, rudeness from me or from the Prime Minister of Qatar, for that matter, in those conversations. So again, I'm really sorry that I have to take time in order to address this, but apparently somebody is trying very hard in order to drive a wedge between Russia and the Arab world. If it's somebody working from the outside, well, I could understand that. If it's somebody who is really coming from the Arab world, I think there is a very good Russian saying, which they, I think, should keep in mind, those in the Arab world who may be upset about our positions, in this case taken on Syria. There is a very good Russian saying. In my translation into English, it would come out like this: don't spit into a well. You may well need it for a drink of water. So, you know, our friends and people who do not regard themselves as friends in the Arab world should remember that Russia is an extremely serious geopolitical reality, that Russia has been for decades a friend of the Arab world. Russia is a friend of the Arab world, even though it may well be that some of our positions are not entirely understood in some quarters in the Arab world. But I can assure you that all those positions derive exclusively and only from our feeling strongly about the fate of countries and peoples in the Arab world. And we are coming there as friends, even in situations when we know that we'll get some flack. Of course, one does not expect that it might come in such gross form as these reports, but we will continue to act on principle. So let's brush this kind of stuff aside and let's focus on the problems at hand. Thank you very much. Please, ma'am. Oh, Mr. President, I'm sorry. Mr. President, yes, I keep forgetting the rules. You know.
Well, no, in a translation, this Russian say looks like a threat anyway. But maybe in the English translation, what you just said about the Russian say of the well looks like a threat, but it's fine.
A what? Looks like what?
Looks like a threat. It's not this translation.
No, it's just looks like. Let me give you the original. Не плюй в колодец, пригодится воды напиться. It's very good old. It's a very nice, warm Russian saying. Maybe it came out in my. A good point. Thank you.
But the visit of Minister Lavrov today, you consider?
I don't have anything on this. No, I don't have anything, and it's. I hope we'll get some information very shortly. So I don't want to speculate at this point.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you knew if the country of Qatar, or the mission, has said anything about this?
I was trying to reach the Qatari ambassador, who was there at, I think, most of those conversations. I was told he is out of town. But I do hope that they will also come up with the clarification, because this is really, as I described it, a very gross... and I didn't have a single moment alone with the Prime Minister of Qatar to make any kind of threats or to pinch him or what. There was no moment for me to do any verbal or physical harm to the Prime Minister. Please.
Ambassador, I'm surprised actually you're even addressing it if it's just internet gossip and things.
No, but the thing that it got appealing, people have been calling Arab journalists, Arab sources, we're calling people in Moscow, we've been getting calls here. So first I saw it, I thought maybe we issue a statement from our mission, but then it ballooned very quickly to a point where I decided that we need to clear the air before it gets even more exaggerated down the line.
So, well, my question though is, if you're concerned about it, I think it shows a concern about your relations with the Arab world. So what concerns do you have about the impact of the veto on Saturday with your relations, particularly with GCC countries?
Well, we are concerned about efforts, and I think, well, from even this example, you can see that there is a reason for this concern, that this situation will be used in order artificially to try to poison our relations with the Arab world. So a record must be set straight on this. Please.
Signs that people are trying to drive a wedge between Russia and the Arab world?
Well, first of all, the very exaggerated, emotional, sometimes rude reaction from our Western colleagues. Well, they may have their purposes in mind, but I think the at least side effect, or maybe purpose of some of those reactions is to create some hostility towards Russia in the Arab world, and that, of course, is not appreciated. Please.
Do you think you have a lot of friends in the Arab world as a result
I
of
do.
that veto?
I do.
Where,
No, you know.
Syria?
Let's look in the long term. On Syria, we are trying to do the right thing. We take our decisions. I regret the fact that there was a veto on Saturday. I think had we worked for 2 or 3 more days, we could have had a resolution which could be unanimously adopted today or tomorrow. You know, in the course of our discussions on that resolution on Thursday, there were 2 situations when we were breaking up. Once in consultations, in fact, the consultations broke up, and we were standing there in the quiet room, and people didn't know what to tell the press. Some ambassadors left already, and then some of my Western colleagues said, well, maybe we should have another try. We did have another try, perhaps only about 7 or 8 of us in the room, and we were able to produce another text bridging our differences. So, you know, one must always, if the purpose is really to have consensus, to have a resolution, not overlook an opportunity or not bypass an opportunity to have a last try. And I believe that had a chance been given to consider those amendments which we brought to the table on Saturday morning, we could have had it. We have some very skilled diplomats around the table. We brought very important problems to the attention of the Security Council, which needed to be addressed with regard to the position and activities of the armed groups. And there was a good reason for us to argue that those approaches and views needed to be incorporated in the text of the resolution. So what happened is very regrettable, because with more effort, we could have had a very good statement. We could have given, I think, more room for Minister Lavrov as he is trying to do his best in Damascus today in order to help resolve the crisis politically. So our Western colleagues are complaining about us. I could say that we were let down by them, by their impatience. I understand that emotionally, negotiating a Security Council resolution of this sort puts a lot of stress on people. And when you come to the Council, you announce that you are going to vote. It's very hard to say we're postponing the vote. But sometimes you need to do the hard thing. And unfortunately, they were carried away by emotions and did not allow that last-ditch effort to be carried out. Yes.
My question was whether your veto would isolate you in the Arab world.
No, it's just one episode. I don't rule out that some people misinterpreted, some people, and of course, judging even by this gross episode, may try to take advantage of that in order to create a certain image of Russia and our policy in the Arab world. But this is not the overall picture we are getting. This is not the overall picture we are getting. So I think that our relations with the Arab world continue to be solid, and we see how this particular crisis plays out. I do believe that we can contribute a lot to its resolution. We continue to work with the Arab League. In fact, Minister Lavrov already had conversations with the Secretary General of the Arab League after the veto, and at least my reading, I hope Sergei Lavrov forgives me for revealing this, at least my reading of his conversation was that the Secretary General of the Arab League was taking it in a very business-like manner without over-dramatizing the effect and the meaning of our veto. So let's, as far as diplomats and politicians are concerned, let's be professional and not forget that the issue here is not Russia, it's not China, it's not veto, it's not the Security Council. It is how are we going to go about putting an end to the violence in Syria and to have this crisis resolved politically with as little damage to the country and people of Syria. Matthew.
Sure. I wanted to, since after the dual veto, that both the Secretary General and then the PGA put out statements expressing, concern that the Council couldn't reach consensus. The PGA said 13 were in favor, 2 were not. Now there's some discussion of a GA resolution on Syria. I'm sure you've seen this. Peter Wittig said it. William Hague has said it. I mean, what do you think that would be useful? And I asked yesterday, and the spokesperson for the PGA said that he was speaking for all of the member states since he's the PGA. I wondered, is that your understanding?
I've not seen, first time I hear about it, I've not seen any proposals. Of course, there is this charter thing that while a matter is under consideration in the Security Council, the General Assembly should not take it up. So how we deal with this charter clause? So it's a rather serious and complicated issue. Please.
Ambassador, you proposed the amendments during the negotiations on the blue draft on Saturday, and paragraph 11 says the Security Council expresses support to the broad trend of political transition and to democratic plural political systems in the Middle East. So did you mean the GCC countries?
I wonder what, I do not even recall that paragraph, frankly. I do not even recall. I don't know where you are taking this from. I don't recall any broader Middle East statements in the text of the draft resolution. Please, sir, over there.
IATA inspectors recently left Iran.
I'm sorry?
I
don't want to go into other subjects. Let's stick with Syria, please.
Are you continuing work on the draft resolution that you tabled, that Russia tabled before the most recent one?
Sorry, say it again.
The draft resolution that you tabled before?
Yes.
Are you continuing work on that?
No. At this point, we had a vote in the Security Council, so we now have to absorb the impact of that, and we have to have a fresh look at the situation. If there is an opportunity to do something in the Security Council which will not create another falling out, we'll try to take that opportunity. But at this point, unfortunately, I don't see any room for constructive work in the Security Council. But we're not ruling anything out. Again, it depends on on the initiative, on the purpose, but to replay the same argument again and again, I don't think is going to be productive at this time. And I don't expect, unfortunately, our colleagues from the Western countries to turn around and say, well, now we understood that your amendments are valid, so please incorporate those amendments where we can go for a vote. Now, I don't think they can do that. So under those circumstances, I do not expect anything in the near future. Please.
Thanks, Ambassador. I saw you on Charlie Rose last night, and you said that the outrage and the comments by your Western allies might affect your work with them on issues like Iran and Afghanistan. Can you elaborate on that?
Iran was something which Charlie Rose said. I did add Afghanistan. You know, of course, I think one has to, and it's, incidentally, I have to stress, I did emphasize I was expressing my personal view, sort of my personal sentiment, and talking not just Security Council, but the overall picture. You know, people, when they choose their words, they have to calculate the consequences. And the fact that we did not choose to react in the same kind of a, trying to find a polite word, in the same kind of a loud way, does not mean that we haven't taken note, that we haven't noticed those words. So we're going to, we are going to work on the problems. Wherever we can be constructive, we'll be constructive. But we'll keep those things in mind. Please.
You're saying that there will be a season of very cold relation now in the Security Council with other countries. I mean, you absolutely exclude that there will be any possibility in a month. If the situation in Syria stays the same or get even worse, don't you think would be...
No, you know, if the Security Council can do anything on Syria, useful, on Syria, on any other matter, tomorrow or today, we'll do that. We'll do that. And this is an extremely important issue. We have to take it at face value as a very important issue. So if there is an opportunity to do something constructively, we'll do that. Please.
Thank you. Do you think that the Russian draft resolution is still relevant?
I just answered that question. Please.
You may have answered this question already too, because I've come in late, but in case not, did you give any details of what proposals Mr. Lavrov was preparing?
No, I have no information on that, no. Sir, please.
What can be the next step in Syria?
In Syria, well, we hope that the Arab League will continue its activity. We hope that the monitoring mission will be deployed again. These are the things I think as a first priority we're looking to. And of course that everybody in Syria exercise restraint in this situation. The violence must stop from all sides, as we have repeatedly emphasized. Please.
Does Moscow see the situation in Syria now as a civil war?
I'm not authorized to make such big descriptions on behalf of Moscow. You know, we've been saying that it's on the verge of civil war. But is it officially a civil war or not, I cannot say.
What do you think about the withdrawal of Arab and U.S. ambassadors and some European ambassadors from Damascus, those events that happened?
Well, they have the right to assess the situation, including the security situation, and make their decision on that. Please, you wanted, ma'am, to have a question. You have a question? You had a question. It's okay, let's go there and then you...
Yeah, I forgot what it was.
So you vetoed a resolution which supported the Arab League, yet Foreign Minister Lavrov is saying he wants to support the Arab League today. It could be seen as contradictory, isn't it?
Yeah, but we want to have a resolution which really supports the activity of the Arab League. To have a resolution which would have fallen apart the moment it was adopted, you know, because it would not contain the signals or the content which would allow the Arab League to continue its effort. It would be only a pretext of saying, well, the government did not do this, the government did not do that. That would not have been a good idea. But on the other hand, you are right. We were very close to a point where it would have been really a very good resolution. Matthew.
Sure. I wanted to just, I guess, to put this one to bed. This idea of, in the amendment that you proposed, saying that the forces of the Syrian government should pull out of cities, quote, in conjunction with the end of attacks by armed groups. Both Ambassador Lyle Grant, that day at the stakeout said that it was supposed to be actually the armed groups stopping first. And I think French Ambassador Gerard Araud has since said that, using the word lorsque or after. So I wanted to know, did you say anything in the consultations that would lead to that, or they just...
No. I just read the text. We did not have a very long discussion of the whole thing. If somehow they understand the word in conjunction as meaning that, which they never said in consultation, incidentally. Nobody said to me, but listen, this word, we don't like it because in our view of the English language, it means that they should stop first. Well, then we should have discussed it. And I was not glued to the word in conjunction. The only objective we had in this is to make sure that the armed groups, the opposition groups, understand that if they want the whole conflict to stop, they cannot take advantage of the pulling out of government forces in order to establish their military control of certain areas, that things must be done in a peaceful way. So I was open to discussing, language on this. You cannot sometimes do it in a couple of minutes. So we're suggesting also in light of the fact that Lavrov and Fratkov were heading to Damascus, that let's take 2 or 3 days and make sure that we really have a proper language which would be useful. Please.
Do you think that what's going on in Syria now is still a domestic issue, or the situation there is really threatening at least the regional peace and security?
Well, it is a domestic issue, but it certainly has considerable regional repercussions. And if it goes wrong, then we know, we have been saying that Iraq is going to be affected, Lebanon is going to be affected, and beyond. The entire region is going to be affected. So that's why we are trying to make every effort that it's not going to turn into a full-fledged civil war and into a kind of a regional dimensions problem. Okay, please.
Do you think that the opposition would negotiate with Assad, after Homs, which happened to come on the anniversary of Hamas?
They are not supposed. What they keep saying. We discussed here in New York, for instance. I had this meeting, as you probably recall, with Mr. Gallion, and he also kept saying, we don't want to talk to Assad. And I said, nobody is asking you to talk to Assad. Even the Arab League plan, I mean, they have a structure for discussion. But why don't you come to Moscow, or you can do it in Damascus, in Cairo, and simply sit at the table with representatives of the government? Because if the idea is to have a national unity government, how do you do that without sitting at the table with them? So it's not really a very sort of valid, strong argument from them. And we understand the political message that they are sending by saying that. But in terms of establishing political dialogue, there is nothing in our idea, or League of Arab States idea, of establishing political dialogue that they must sit at the table with President Assad. Thank you very much.